and welcome to Daily Talk, the talk show that talks daily about current events and world affairs.
That's right, today's date is April 6th, 1918. It has been 1 full year since our great country has entered the Great War in order to save our allies and defeat the evildoers across the Atlantic.
Today, to mark that momentous occasion, we will be talking to you, the ordinary man, woman, or child, about your feelings regarding the Great War.
Oh, it looks like we have our first caller. Please state your name and where you're from.
Well, hello, y'all. My name's Molly Smith, and I'd just like to say how proud I am of my son on the battlefield.
Oh, is your son a proud volunteer?
Actually, he was drafted after the war began due to the Selective Service Act, but he was very proud to serve his country.
Oh, bet he was. He was just one of 2.8 million men selected by the draft to fight for freedom.
Yes, he's 23 years old and certainly within the eligible range between 21 and 30.
Well, thank you for your input, ma'am. We're certainly delighted to see your brave son fight.
Also, have you noticed all this progress in women's rights and status in society?
Truly, any eligible, patriotic man should be fighting. If you've been a sniveling wimp thus far, and would like to prove yourself, sign up for the military today at your local office.
Oh, it looks like we've got our next caller. Please state your name and where you're from.
Hello all, I'd actually prefer not to state my name or location. I'm calling to give a point of view of what most people call a slacker.
Oh my! Have you dodged your draft, sir? You are not doing your duty to America. You know that after the Selective Service Act, you have to register for the draft?
Well, I think it's cruel to force a man away from his family into a war we barely have any right to be in. I've got a family I have to provide for, and if I'm dead from some German 2,000 miles away, what good does that do to my wife and child? I watched as 10 million jingoistic young men signed up for the draft in just the first few months, and I've heard that there are projections reaching up to 24 million total by the war's end, but I refuse to fight myself. In fact, I've been working alongside the recently formed Civil Liberties Bureau to defend every American's rights.
You are aware that as of last year's Espionage Act, that permits the government to arrest any individual that impairs enlistment, and if Congress passes the Sedition Act, you could serve up to 20 years in prison instead of just 2 years in the Army. Perhaps you should quiet down.
Anyway, don't you think your family would be darn proud if you entered the military to protect us all?
Not if I'm dead. You know what? I'm sorry. It was a mistake for me to call. You're all just pawns of the government. Wait, think, there's someone at my door. What's going on? Who's there? What are you doing? This is the police! Hands in the air, slacker! What? No, I have a family. And it's because of you the American family is broken. What? That doesn't make any sense. Get on the ground!
Well, I'm very glad that worked out well for America.
For America, indeed. These slackers are a huge problem for the government, and they're obstructing the fight for freedom. If you know someone who's skipped out on their draft, call them in to one of the slacker raids.
I was just reading in the New York Times that a special police detail captured a bunch of slackers and, directed by federal authorities, impressed them into armed service. The Times even said the slackers were relieved to join the army.
Another victory for democracy. We'll never let those barbaric Central Powers strip us of our liberties, even if we get to force every last man to enlist to do it.
Hold that thought. Our next caller is already on the line. Let's hope they're a bit more patriotic.
Hello, my name is Robert Clark, and I'm an assistant to Herbert Hoover at the U.S. Food Administration.
Oh my goodness, a government official. Thank you, sir, for doing your duty to America.
Well, it's the least I could do for this incredible nation. I'm calling to remind your listeners to help the war effort, even if they can't fight. The only way we can win this war is if our soldiers stay happy and healthy. So everyone here on the home front should save all the food you can.
And do you have any specific tips to do that?
Yes. Minimize the food you have to buy so that more can be taken from shelves and be sent to troops. We encourage all families to plant a victory garden to supplement their vegetables and try to serve corn in one form or another at every meal. Corn is one of the most economical and nourishing foods we can provide. Together we can help Herbert Hoover feed the Belgians.
Indeed. Thank you for calling. Although, I heard it was potatoes we needed to divert our focus to.
Yes, and I perishables.
Or was it fish and poultry and oats?
And oats and baked and canned and
Broiled or boiled? Oh my God!
Well, if I may interrupt, all of those food items do deserve our attention. I'll have you know that in addition to our courageous men in uniform, the destitute, good people of Europe are in need of aid. Have you had any idea that Director Hoover fed millions of starving Belgians and French?
That man Hoover, he's leaving such an incredible legacy. Do you think he'll be able to run for the presidency after this?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, out of their gratitude, I wouldn't be surprised if the impoverished citizens formed towns celebrating their savior. How about Hoovervilles? Well, I suppose it's time for me to get back to work. More soldiers to feed.
Wow, what a great...
Well, looks like it's time to go to our next caller. Sir, please state your name and where you're from.
Hello, my name is John Johnson, and I live in the great US of A, and I'd just like to say that America should be all proud of their country for helping spread freedom across the globe.
I'm certainly glad to hear that from such a patriotic fellow like yourself.
Well, thank you. I do pride myself in my country, after all. There are reasons for being in this war.
I'm sure our listeners are aware of the reasons, but could you give the slackers out there a refresher?
Why, sure. First and foremost, we're helping spread liberty and democracy to the world. But we're also fighting because of the sinking of the Lusitania, a passenger ship that was torpedoed by the Germans. Over 1,000 innocent people died, including 128 Americans. Those barbaric Germans attacked us without provocation, and I'm sure you've heard of the Zimmerman telegram. You know, the one that Germany sent to Mexico.
Indeed. But, really, what is your job and where do you live?
I'm just a good American, working at George Creel's Committee for Public Information.
Isn't that where the artist designed propaganda?
Oh, yeah, well, my wife is calling me to go buy war bonds, you know, that Germany wants to seize our nation. Haven't you seen the Zimmerman telegram? Mexico will invade, trying times, you know.
What a good American.
Yes, now we'll have to go to our final caller, but unfortunately, you'll have to do this one on your own. I have to go to the restroom.
Well, alright, but you ought to know it's bad radio etiquette, old sport.
I'm sorry.
You should be. Oh. Jeez, the nerve of these young people. I've been here 40 years. Oh, it's time for our final caller. What good American is calling now?
Yes, my name is, Mr. Smith. I personally believe this war has taken too much from the American people. Our boys are fighting and dying for a cause we have little business being in, and the government has even interned thousands of Americans and suspended their civil liberties.
But sir, America is great, and a true American must be true to his country. Weren't you listening to Mr. Johnson from a moment ago?
Look, we believe that too, but my son went into the war and not long after he abruptly stopped writing. We've written him consistently, but we've had no response since. All the officials I try to talk to tell me to sit tight and buy Liberty bonds to help him. I'm worried.
Oh, well, I mean, we seem to have lost that caller, but no real harm done. Oh, welcome back. Where was somebody? Well, that's all for this recording of Daily Talk, the show where we talk daily about how great America is. We hope you've been inspired to new heights by the sheer patriotism of some of our callers today. And while some were much less than patriotic, we are sure the government can handle that, considering under the Espionage as well as the Sedition Acts, it is illegal to criticize or condemn the war effort. Alright, beautiful.
I didn't know you'd hit me a lot. You hit me a lot.
You were the first line. When I said you started off, I meant you started. How are we gonna do a pizza gag? We don't have pizza.
The pizza's upstairs.
You gotta go get the pizza.
Let's go get the pizza.
The pizza. What are you?
3, 2. Oh wait. 1. Go.
Looks like we've got our first caller on the line. Please tell us your name and where you're from. Oh, okay. Alright, I think.